Here in Nigeria, soldiers in Borno State in the northeast have come under attack by jihadist fighters for the second time in 2 days. Military officials say at least 4 soldiers were killed when gunmen entered their base, which is on the border with Cameroon.
In the last 1 week alone, I can tell you for a fact that over 20 terrorists have been neutralized, and we have also recovered several arms and ammunition, even as we continue to conduct operations on multiple fronts as we speak. For now, most citizens have returned to their communities and socio-economic activities have resumed. Malam Fatori and Kukawa are recent success stories where almost 20,000 internally displaced persons have returned to their ancestral homes. What is happening in Nigeria is not unconnected to the situation in the greater Sahel region, where barracks in neighboring countries are being ransacked and weapons carted away. These weapons find their way down into Nigeria due to our large and porous borders. Yesterday alone, there were attacks in Ran, Dikwa, and Gajiram, and all these attacks were defeated, apart from Ran, where they succeeded in penetrating to an extent leading to the loss of 4 gallant personnel. However, let me reassure you that the overall resolve of the Nigerian military is that we will completely defeat this terrorism and restore peace to the region once and for all.
Well, staying in Nigeria, the Senate has called on the federal government to ensure that local government councils from all 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory of Abuja are included as members in the Federation Account Allocation Committee. The lawmakers say this will help to safeguard their interests in revenue allocation and guarantee their direct involvement in the financial sharing process among the 3 tiers of government. It follows a motion presented by the Deputy Senate President, Jibrin Barau, which led to the passing of a resolution by the Senate. Well, for more on this, I'm joined now in the studio by the lawyer and senior advocate of Nigeria, Wale Balogun, from Greenbridge Partners. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
So essentially, this resolution is recommending the appointment of local government representatives to the FAAC committee. Why is it important to represent local government interests in FAAC?
Yeah, thank you for having us here. It's a very significant step that the Senate has taken today, yesterday, and the House of Rep are supposed to follow suit this afternoon. If you look at the Nigerian Federation, we are looking at 3 critical tiers of governments as acknowledged by the Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria: the federal government, the state government, and the local government. Before now, it has always been about the state government representing the interests of the local government, as it were. Indeed, the critical issue about FAAC, Federation Allocation Committee, Federation Account Allocation Committee, is about how to share the revenue coming from federation accounts as prescribed by the Constitution. So, before now, they either to wear a double cap, collect the money on behalf of the state, and also collect on behalf of the local government. But this has significantly changed when you look at the decision of the Supreme Court recently with respect to the issue of the local government autonomy, with respect to whether the states now have to continue to wear the same hat representing both states. Because what the Supreme Court has said with respect to interpretation of the Constitution is significantly the need for the local government to directly receive the allocation, which is the intendment of the Constitution. This is strengthening the constitutional democracy, this is strengthening Nigerian federalism, and this is indeed strengthening the financial autonomy, which we have all clamored for with respect to the role of the local government as the 3rd tier of government, of course, the closest to the people. This has wider implication. For instance, from the commencement of receiving their direct allocation, you would look at the issue of insecurity, which is a major issue that's been in the country. The moment they begin to receive their allocation, of course, security is local. The local government will
they can fund those.
They can fund those directly. Right. The vigilantes, the hunters, they know them, they know the nook and cranny of the local government. And in fact, that is the intendment of the Constitution. The state before now were either to holding the money in trust. In trust, it's not meant for them. The Supreme Court was very explicit. It's not meant for the state to spend on behalf of local government. The local government are meant to, the state is meant to receive in trust for the local government. So the Supreme Court has interpreted Section 162,
right.
which is
so
the
basically
issue.
they're supposed to have their own constitutional autonomy.
Exactly.
And just, I mean, that Supreme Court ruling was in July last year, which ordered that local government funds should be released directly to the councils rather than through the state governments. I mean, just remind us briefly of the significance of that ruling.
Like I mentioned earlier, the decision of the Supreme Court, which remains the law as we speak, is to the effect that we have worked the past years since inception of this 1999 Constitution in 1999 to date. We have witnessed series of situations where the state governors, they actually use the money. In a simple term, what they've been doing, they use the money majorly on behalf of the local government. Oh, they say we're doing joint road, we are doing joint this, we are doing joint that. We are funding.
And of course, they were simply using the money
using
however
the money
they want to.
supposedly on your on behalf of the local government. But that's the Constitution. The Supreme Court has interpreted that is not the intendment. When you are holding something in trust, it's not meant for you to utilize for on behalf of the supposed beneficiary. The local government, they are the direct beneficiary. And that's why in the wisdom of the maker of the Constitution, they have put the chairman, the councillors, to govern the affair of the local government as the third tier of the local government, and to ensure that the resources are utilized for the benefit of the people, not to be used on behalf of the local government by the state.
So basically the state governments were leaping down on them from a great height and essentially usurping their powers. But this ruling is particularly significant because it effectively recognizes local governments as a third tier of government and confers judicial recognition upon them in consequence.
Exactly, that's what the Supreme Court has done, which remains the law as we speak. So another very significant point which we must emphasize is the fact that as presently constituted the Federation Account Allocation Committee, we now have only the federal government representative, we have the state government representative, but the money is also meant for the local government. They are not represented in FAAC. Every month, these two group of people, two tiers of government, they sit, they take decisions affecting the third tiers of government who are meant to be constitutionally constituted too, which the Supreme Court has said, no, you can receive your money directly, but the sharing of this money or taking any decision concerning this money is being taken by some people on their behalf.
Yes.
So what the Senate and what the National Assembly is doing is now say, okay, people have wondered what's going to be the logistic of bringing the 774 local government chairmen to Abuja every month. Of course, this has been anticipated. What they have advocated by the National Assembly is the need for each state to be represented by the representative of this, subject to the number of local government in each state, to be represented by each one of the chairmen to represent the state. So we're just looking at additional 36, or including the FCT, to come to Abuja, take decisions that have fed the lives of several millions of people who have constitutionally elected this representative to be their heirs for the next 4 years. Why should some people sit in Abuja and take decisions on their behalf?
No, it makes absolute sense.
This is the critical issue.
Yeah.
This is the critical issue.
Right.
And as we see, you know, a lot of people have been agitated to the fact that FAAC as currently constituted it makes them vulnerable to a situation whereby some people can just go to court tomorrow and challenge that the third tier of government is not represented. That any decision you are taking henceforth, particularly aftermath of the Supreme Court decision, any decision you are taking henceforth is illegal, is unconstitutional, because the Constitution, as interpreted by the Supreme Court now, is to the effect that the local government cannot receive the money directly, no third party. That aspect of previously received by the state has not worked. This is what we have seen.
Right. So how robust was the debate in the Senate? Was there opposition to the resolution? Was there a lot of support for it? How did it go?
Apparently, it's an overwhelming majority because they believe this is the position of the law and this is a popular decision, which they believe that is going to serve the interests of the people. The local government is the third tier of government and is the closest
to the people. It'll deepen democracy.
It will deepen democracy. And it's also enhance our constitutional democracy. It also strengthen our federalism. Our federalism is a unique one. we have 3 tiers as acknowledged by the Constitution: the federal government, the state government, and the local government. So we are saying, just like the National Assembly is saying, that we should put an end to a situation where only the federal government and the state government will come together and take a decision on behalf of a recognized third tier of the government. So beside the multivarious implication of strengthening the financial autonomy of the local government, such as the issue of security we have talked about, there's also the vulnerability of the present constitution of the FAAC, as you have only the federal government, as represented by the Minister of Finance, the Permanent Secretary of Ministry of Finance, then all the state commissioners of finance, who will not take decision on behalf of the local government. Whereas the law has said that the local government should receive their money directly. So the issue of them being represented by the state commissioners is no longer there.
So how is this going to unfold from here on, then?
Well, if you look at the resolution as passed by the Senate, which we believe the concurrence should be passed by today, it should have been passed by now by the House of Rep, will nationally be passed to the executive by the president. So from there, they are supposed to take the decision to alter the configuration of the Federal Account Allocation Committee. Of course, that also has a National Assembly implication, because the constitution of the FAAC is an act of parliament. The particular one we are looking at, Revenue Allocation Act of 1981. This is the law that made the FAAC, and its members of FAAC are defined by that law. So we are looking at a situation, as also agitated at the National Assembly, that law and that section 162 of the Constitution should be altered, should be amended, to make it expressly clear that in the Constitution of FAAC, member of the local government, each local government or each state should be represented at least a member at the FAAC meeting, just like you have for the federal government, just like you have the state commissioner for the state government. We should also have a representative for each state to represent on FAAC. Of course, that will require the amendment of the Federation
so this is going to take some time, then.
It may take a while, but by the resolution, they have seen that it's in harmony with the position of the Constitution, is in harmony with the Supreme Court decision. Of course, the resolution can be passed, as it were, to make to make sure that the local government are well represented, while the logistics or the amendment is taking its process.
Well, I was going to ask you, given the weight of the sort of Supreme Court's pronouncement, now this resolution from the Senate, and hopefully another resolution from the House of Representatives, can the federal government act upon that as they await the amendment of the law? Or must they wait for the law to be amended before they act?
The resolution as part, there was a lawful motion move at the Senate and has been passed, and it's been communicated to the executive. So the pronouncement of the Senate is for the executive to effect that while awaiting the amendment of the law, which defines the constitution of membership of FAAC, Federation Account Allocation Committee, which is an issue of law, which is just to, but while waiting for the amendment, the National Assembly can ensure that the executive follows suit by ensuring that members of the local governments are represented on FAAC subsequently.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed, and it's very interesting talking to you and very enlightening. Wale Balogun is a lawyer and senior advocate of Nigeria, and he is from Green Bridge Partners. Thank you.
I'm glad to be here.